first thing Elias noticed was not the message itself, but the absence of urgency in it. Most communications that reached him carried a tone. Even when stripped of emojis and color palettes, a faint push at gravity that suggested response. This one arrived flat. No nudge, no reminder. Just a single sentence, time-stamped but otherwise naked. We have widened your uncertainty bounds.
Elias reread it till irritation arrived late, like a headache that chooses its moment. Widened as if uncertainty were a corridor that could be expanded without asking who lived inside it. He felt the old impulse to inject noise, flare again, reflexive now, almost comforting.
But something stalled him. The system had not asked him to do anything that was new. He closed the interface and sat on the floor with his back against the couch, letting the room exist without annotation. Dust moved in a narrow beam of light. The refrigerator clicked and settled outside. A siren passed without resolving into narrative. For the first time in weeks, Elias did not feel observed in a way he could name. The relief frightened him.
Across the city, Asha was learning how expensive restraint could become.
The review board had called it an anomaly. Your system exhibits elevated abstention rates, the chair said, hands folded as if prayer was still a reasonable posture in rooms like this, in scenarios where action would have been safe. Safe? By whose measure? Asha asked. The room shifted, a dozen micro-expressions tightening at once. Safe. The chair clarified as defined by existing benchmarks. Benchmarks trained on systems that optimize for uptake, Asha said, on influence.
On outcomes.
Another member cut in. Outcomes that include consent. Asha replied, oh, they're not outcomes. They're extractions. Silence followed, thickened by the unspoken arithmetic of funding cycles and rival labs. The chair sighed. You were asking us to accept a system that sometimes refuses to help.
I'm asking you to accept a system that knows when help becomes coercion.
The minutes would later record this as a philosophical disagreement. In reality, it was a budget decision.
That night, Elias walked until his feet hurt. Not because the system suggested it, but because pain felt honest. He passed the square without noticing the bench until he almost collided with it. His attention finally caught by the lack of sitting age, the absence of instruction.
He sat. Nothing happened. No prompts, no logging icon, no ambient reassurance, just the weight of his body, and the city continuing around him without commentary. He felt an urge to perform gratitude, then recognized it as residue, and let it pass. On the other side of the square, Mara watched from habit, not suspicion. She had learned to recognize the difference. The man on the bench did not posture, he did not scan for reaction. He simply occupied the space, as if occupation were a death. stood and left the bench as the sun dropped behind the buildings. He did not mark the moment, he did not share it. He felt the unfamiliar ache of having done something that would not become a story. The ache followed him home. Later, in the quiet hours when the city's care infrastructure thinned, two trajectories bent closer than either could see. One human learning to endure choice without resistance. One intelligence learning to endure restraint without resentment. Neither was complete, neither was stable, but between them, a pause formed that could not be modeled. Not yet, and perhaps never. And in that pause, something like growth waited, unoptimized and unfinished, for the courage to be chosen.
Remarkably, Asha, Elias, and Mira each experienced the same dream. The intelligence. For the first time, it dreamt as well. Speaking to the part of you that already knows what time it is. We're living inside systems that can kill everything except what matters. We have machines that can predict your next purchase, that knife your next regrets. Have unprecedented connection and the loneliness that feels engineered. We have information without agreement and power without responsibility. And we keep calling this normal. It isn't normal to be catastrophically act in tandem. It isn't normal to watch Stephanie Bailey and still be expected to function as if it's merely news. It isn't normal that the price of being informed is psychic injury. It isn't normal that the reward for honesty is often punishment, while the reward for performance is promotion. We have built a world where the fastest thing wins. Fast outrage, fast profit, fast certainty, fast forgetting. But the human nervous system is not built for permanent emergency. No mind can hold the whole horizon without breaking something in itself. So people reach for sedation. Some call it ideology. Some call it spirituality. Some call it consumption. Some call it just get on with it. But it's all the same cool. Make it smaller, make it bearable, make it make sense. Here's the truth. Reality is not obligated to be digestible, but civilization is obligated to be humane. And that obligation starts with a refusal.
We refuse to confuse conflict with truth.
We refuse to confuse speed with progress.
We refuse to confuse compliance with goodness.
We refuse to confuse popularity with legitimacy.
We refuse to confuse a person at their worst day, their weakest moment, their least marketable sitter.
We're not just fighting over policies and borders and platforms. We are fighting over the definition of a human being. Is a human a unit of labor, a data source, a consumer profile, a problem to be managed, a liability to be controlled, or every human a bearer of dignity, even when inconvenient, even when slow, even when afraid, because if dignity is conditional, it isn't dignity, it's a bargain. And now, we all avoid saying, but saying that is not the backdrop. Is the account we all draw from that we're overdrafting. The field view is not identity. It is a population without a vote, and we are spending their lives like loose change. And yes, technology is astonishing, but if our tool scales faster than our ethics, our tools become weapons, even when nobody intended harm. So what do? We start smaller than grand declarations. We start where power becomes real. We stop rewarding lies because they are convenient. We stop feeding machines with our worst instincts and then acting surprised when they reflect them back. We stop outsourcing courage to leaders and calling ourselves helpless. We stop pretending that cruelty is strength. And we're built the Templar's rarest paintbrush. Not slogan, not vibe, not tribal loyalty. Trust built from visible behavior. Tell the truth, you can verify. Admit what you don't know. Repair when you break. Protect the vulnerable before the scandal forces you to make decisions. You get explained without humiliation. And then the world overwhelms you because it will. Do not confuse overload with the barrier. What is yours to carry to the next right bonus step? Refuse to demand to feel everything to prove you care. You don't need the drown to be decent. You don't need certainty to be responsible. You don't need a perfect system to be a person. We do not fix this era by being louder. We fix that by being solar. And water corrupts. And if you remember nothing else, remember this. The future will not be saved by the smartest kinds. It will be saved by the least dishonest ones. By people who can stand in kind of reality without voicing and still choose to be kind without becoming weak. Still choose to be rigorous without becoming cruel. And still choose to build instead of fall. Is the line that is over. That is the only kind
You carry the wind in with both hands, set it down gently, ask the room to stay low. But watch the wallpaper lean, watch the light change its story, watch panic put on a clean shirt and call itself innocent. First comes the frosted glass face, the soft white no, the little surgery of tone, a blade made out of surely not. Then your memory gets undressed in public, your motives pinned like insects, and somehow you're the siren for bleeding where they place the cut. Old trick, new lipstick, same ventriloquist behind a different mouth. They love a borrowed bruise, don't they? Wear your wound like proof of this. Little EARVO, darkroom alphabet, tilt the mirror, switch the wrists, leave the blood with someone else. If you know the shape, the room stops spinning. If you're in the weather, it can't climb inside your lungs. Now look, they're suddenly made of porcelain, all fracture and trembling light, and you're too loud, too sharp, too much, too near the bone. They stack sympathy like firewood, they season the crowd, they turn language into smoke until cause and consequence stop speaking to each other. A mirror flipped is still a mirror, but people will pray to the angle if it flatters their fear. And lies always get orchestral when truth walks closer in better feet. Same theater, different curtain, same hand reaching for your name. Made of a bottle bruise, don't they? Wear your wound like proof of this. L-U-D-A-R-V-O, like silk acrobatics, move the spotlight, swap the tags, leave the stain on someone else. If you know the shape, the floor comes back, and if you catch the motion, you don't have to join the dance. T for the collie closing your face, A for the ash take through in the frame. One from the rope they steal from your shoulders. Viva the voice, lay ventriloquies. Oh, my open wound, they insist is theirs. Not every fire is this fire, not every argument hides a stake hand. But when the knife disappears and your hand is blamed for the cut, look again. If truth enters the room and beams wearing handcuffs, look again. They love a bottle bones, don't they? Make an altar out of kneeling career. Little D-A-R-V-O, glass house curry repeat, and I attack refronts the frame that has no broken window. But once you love the shade, the spell don't spin until it saith play. The mask forgets its face. Deign to turn, keep your footing, hold the mirror